Dr. Elena Martinez wiped the sweat from her forehead as she carefully brushed dirt away from the strange stone tablet. The hot sun of planet Kepler 442b beat down on her back through the thin atmosphere. She had been working on this dig site for 3 weeks now, and what she was finding made no sense at all. The tablet had symbols carved deep into its surface. At first glance, they looked like any other alien writing she had studied during her 15 years as an archaeologist. But something about these symbols felt different. They felt familiar in a way that made her stomach twist with unease. "Elena, you need to see this," called Dr. Carl Bennett from across the excavation site. The linguist was kneeling beside a large stone structure that their team had uncovered yesterday. His voice carried an excitement that made Elena drop her brush and hurry over. Carl was pointing at a series of carved images along the wall. Elena knelt beside him and studied the pictures, her breath caught in her throat. The images showed figures that looked exactly like humans. Not sort of like humans or close to humans, but exactly like humans. They were wearing what appeared to be spacesuits and standing beside ships that looked remarkably similar to human spacecraft designs. "This cannot be right," Elena whispered. She pulled out her scanner and ran it over the carvings. The device beeped softly as it analyzed the stone. "Carl, this stone is over 12,000 years old. These ruins predate human space travel by thousands of years." Carl nodded grimly. "I know. I have been staring at these images for an hour now, trying to find some explanation that makes sense. But look at this." He pointed to another carving. "Higher up on the wall, that is clearly our solar system. See the third planet from the sun? That is Earth, and those other planets match the exact positions and sizes of the planets in our system." Elena stood up and stepped back to get a better view of the entire wall. The more she looked, the more impossible it became to deny what she was seeing. The carvings showed a clear progression of events. Humans leaving Earth, traveling through space, and settling on various worlds, but the dating was all wrong. These images were created thousands of years before humans had even invented the wheel. "Elena, Carl, you both need to get over here right now," shouted Lisa Chong from the far end of the dig site. The engineer's voice carried an urgency that made both scientists run toward her. Lisa was standing at the entrance to what appeared to be a sealed chamber. The team had been working for days to clear away the debris blocking the entrance. Now, finally, they could see inside. "I got the scanner working on the chamber," Lisa said, her voice shaking slightly. "The atmosphere inside is completely preserved. Whatever is in there has been sealed for thousands of years." Elena grabbed her equipment and followed Lisa into the chamber. Emergency lights cast long shadows on the walls as they moved deeper underground. The chamber was larger than they had expected, with corridors branching off in several directions. "Over here," Carl called from one of the side passages. "There is something you both need to see." Elena and Lisa joined him in a circular room. In the center stood a pedestal with what looked like a control panel, but it was the walls that took Elena's breath away. Every surface was covered with more carvings and symbols, and scattered throughout the alien writing were symbols that Elena recognized immediately. "Those are human letters," she said, pointing at the wall. "That is definitely an A, and there is a B and an E. How is this possible?" Lisa moved to the control panel and began studying its design. "This technology is incredible," she said. "It is far more advanced than anything we have today, but I recognize some of the basic principles. Give me a few minutes and I think I can get it working." Elena continued studying the wall carvings while Lisa worked on the control panel. The more she translated, the more confused she became. The text seemed to be written in a very old form of human language, but mixed with symbols she had never seen before. "Got it?" Lisa announced. The control panel hummed to life, and suddenly the room filled with a soft blue light. A section of the wall slid open, revealing another chamber beyond. The 3 scientists entered the new room and stopped dead in their tracks. Along the walls were dozens of containers, each one glowing with the same blue light. And in the center of the room stood a holographic projector that was already beginning to activate. A figure began to appear in the hologram. Elena gasped as she realized it was a human man, tall and dignified, wearing clothing that was clearly advanced but somehow familiar. When he began to speak, his words were in perfect English. "If you are seeing this message, then you have found one of the hidden archives," the man said. "My name is Marcus Vale, and I was the High Curator of the Human Galactic Archive. If you are human, then you are my descendants, and you have finally returned to reclaim your heritage." Elena, Carl, and Lisa stared at the hologram in stunned silence. The man continued speaking as if he could see their shocked expressions. "I know this must be confusing. You have been taught that humans originated on Earth, that you are a young species just beginning to explore space. This is not true. Humans once ruled a vast empire that spanned this entire region of the galaxy. We were the first species to achieve faster-than-light travel. We established the first interstellar trade routes and founded what you now know as the Galactic Council." The hologram gestured, and the walls around them began displaying star maps and images of vast cities on alien worlds. Elena recognized several of the star systems from her own astronomical training. "But our empire was destroyed," Marcus continued. "A coalition of alien species, led by the Skarn and the Zephyrions, feared our rapid expansion and technological advancement. They called themselves the Hegemony, and they launched a coordinated attack on all human worlds. The war lasted for decades, but eventually we were defeated." The images on the walls changed to show massive space battles and the destruction of human cities. Elena felt tears forming in her eyes as she watched the recorded history of her species' downfall. Most of our population was killed, and the survivors were scattered across the galaxy. A small group managed to escape to a primitive world in a remote system. That world was Earth. They were forced to start over, to rebuild civilization from nothing, with no memory of their true heritage. The hologram of Marcus looked directly at them. But the Hegemony was not satisfied with simply defeating us. They wanted to erase all evidence that humans had ever existed. They systematically destroyed our records, our monuments, our entire history. They rewrote the galactic historical records to remove any mention of human achievements. Elena found her voice. Why? Why would they do such a thing? The hologram could not hear her question, but Marcus seemed to anticipate it. They feared that someday humans would return to space and reclaim their rightful place. So they tried to ensure that, when that day came, humans would have no knowledge of their true heritage, no claim to their former territories. The recorded message was beginning to fade, but Marcus had one final revelation. They failed. Some of our archives survived, hidden on remote worlds like this one. And more importantly, some of our people survived. There are human worlds still, out there, hidden from the Hegemony, waiting for the day when their brothers and sisters from Earth would return to the stars. The hologram disappeared, leaving Elena, Carl, and Lisa alone in the glowing chamber. For a long moment, none of them spoke. Finally, Elena broke the silence. "We need to contact Commander Sullivan immediately," she said. "And we need to secure this entire site. If what we have just heard is true, then everything we thought we knew about human history is wrong." Carl nodded slowly. "This changes everything. We are not alone in the galaxy. We never were alone. We are returning home." Elena looked around the chamber one more time, taking in the preserved containers and the advanced technology. Somewhere out there, other humans were waiting for this moment. The question was, would they be ready for what came next? Captain Ryan Brooks stood in the main briefing room of the exploration ship Endeavour, staring at the holographic display that showed Elena Martinez's findings. The evidence was laid out before him in neat rows of data, images, and translated text. 3 days had passed since Elena's team had discovered the hidden chamber, and Ryan still could not believe what he was seeing. "Show me the message again," Ryan said to Elena, who was standing beside the display controls. She nodded and activated the hologram of Marcus Vale once more. Ryan watched the entire recording in silence. When it finished, he turned to Commander Jake Sullivan, who had been studying the star maps that the archive had revealed. Jake, what do you think? Is this real, or are we looking at some kind of elaborate hoax? Jake shook his head slowly. Sir, I have been a military officer for 20 years. I have seen my share of fake intelligence and false information. This is not fake. The technology alone would be impossible to create as a hoax. And the DNA samples that Dr. Martinez found match human DNA perfectly. Elena stepped forward. Captain, there is something else. We have been analyzing the star maps from the archive, and we found something disturbing. According to these records, there should be human artifacts and ruins on at least 30 different worlds in this sector of the galaxy. But when we checked, the official Galactic Council survey reports none of these worlds show any signs of human presence. Ryan frowned. What are you saying? I'm saying that someone has been very thorough in cleaning up the evidence, Elena replied. Every world that should have human ruins has been marked as uninhabited or settled by other species. The timing is too perfect to be coincidental. Dr. Carl Bennett, who had been quiet during most of the briefing, finally spoke up. Captain, I have been studying the linguistic patterns in the archive. The writing shows a clear evolution from ancient human languages to the modern languages we speak today. This is not something that could be faked. It would require knowledge of linguistic development that no one outside of a few specialists would have. Ryan walked to the window and looked out at the stars. If this is true, then we are dealing with a conspiracy that has lasted for thousands of years. Someone has been actively working to hide human history from the galaxy. Not just hide it, said Lisa Chung, who had been analyzing the technical specifications found in the archive. They have been actively destroying it. The archive contains records of human settlements being attacked and destroyed, but not by the original war. These attacks happened centuries after the war ended. Someone has been systematically hunting down and destroying every trace of human civilization. Jake moved to stand beside Ryan. Sir, I recommend we contact Earth Command immediately. This is bigger than just an archaeological discovery. If there are still human worlds out there, we need to find them. And if there is a conspiracy to hide our history, we need to know who is behind it, Ryan nodded. Agreed. But first, I want to investigate some of these other worlds that the archive mentioned. If we can find more evidence, it will strengthen our case when we report back to Earth. Elena pulled up a star map. The archive mentions a world called Kepler 438c, according to the records. It was a major human industrial center. It is only 2 days away from here. Set course for Kepler 438c, Ryan ordered. I want full security protocols in place. If someone has been destroying human sites for centuries, they might not be happy that we are poking around. 2 days later, the Endeavour dropped out of hyperspace near Kepler 438c. What they found there made everyone on the bridge fall silent. The planet was inhabited, but not by humans. A thriving alien city covered the area where the archive said the human industrial center should be. Run deep scans, Ryan ordered. I want to know what is under that city. The scans revealed the truth. Buried beneath the alien city were the ruins of massive human structures. The foundations, the metal supports, even fragments of human writing were all there, hidden under layers of new construction. Captain, called Lieutenant Peter Hayes from the communications station, I am picking up a transmission from the planet's surface. They are asking us to identify ourselves. Put them through, Ryan said. The main screen showed a reptilian alien with yellow eyes and scaled skin. When it spoke, its voice was cold and formal. Unknown vessel, you are in Skarn territorial space. State your business or leave immediately. Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. The Skarn were one of the species that Marcus Vale had mentioned as being part of the hegemony. This is Captain Ryan Brooks of the human exploration vessel Endeavour. We are conducting archaeological research in this system. The Skarn's eyes narrowed. There are no archaeological sites of interest in this system. You will leave immediately. With respect, our surveys indicate otherwise, Ryan replied calmly. We would like permission to conduct surface scans. Permission denied. Leave now or face military action. Ryan cut the transmission and turned to Jake. What do you think? I think they are very nervous about us being here. Jake replied. The question is why. Elena was studying the sensor readings. Captain, I am detecting energy signatures beneath the city that match the technology we found in the archive. There is definitely human technology down there, and they do not want us to find it, Ryan said grimly. Take us to the next location on the list. I want to see if this pattern holds. Over the next week, the Endeavor visited 5 more worlds from the archives list. Each time they found the same thing. Alien settlements built directly over human ruins, with no mention of human presence in the official records. And each time they were warned away by hostile alien forces. This is not random, Elena said during their final briefing. Someone has deliberately placed other species on these worlds to hide the human ruins underneath. It is a systematic cover-up. Ryan nodded. The question is, who is coordinating this? The Skarn seem to be involved, but this is too big for just one species to handle. Jake had been studying the military aspects of what they had discovered. Sir, I think we need to be very careful. If there is a conspiracy this large, they have had thousands of years to prepare. They will not be happy that we are uncovering their work. Captain, interrupted Lieutenant Hayes from his station, I am receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command. They want to speak with you immediately. Ryan took the transmission. In his private quarters. Admiral Susan Wright appeared on the screen, her face serious. Captain Brooks, we have received your preliminary reports. I need to know how reliable this information is. Admiral, I would stake my career on it. The evidence is overwhelming. Human civilization once spanned this region of the galaxy, and someone has been systematically hiding that fact. Admiral Wright was quiet for a long moment. Captain, I am going to share something with you that is classified at the highest levels. We have been receiving strange reports from our deep space monitoring stations. Ships appearing and disappearing at the edge of our sensor range. Technology that seems to be human in origin, but far more advanced than anything we have. Ryan felt his pulse quicken. You think there are other humans out there? I think Marcus Vale was right. I think some human worlds survived, and they have been hiding from this hegemony for thousands of years. The question is whether they will welcome contact with their long-lost cousins from Earth. Ryan thought about the hostile reception they had received at every world they had visited. Admiral, I think we need to assume that the hegemony is still active. They have been maintaining this cover-up for centuries, which means they still see humans as a threat. Agreed. Captain, I want you to continue your investigation, but be extremely careful. If you find evidence of surviving human worlds, do not approach them directly. We need to be sure they are friendly before we make contact, Ryan nodded. Understood, Admiral. But if there are humans out there who have been hiding for thousands of years, they might be our only hope of learning the full truth about what happened to our civilization. After the transmission ended, Ryan sat alone in his quarters, staring out at the stars. Somewhere out there, other humans were living secret lives, keeping the flame of human civilization alive. The question was whether they would see Earth humans as allies or as a threat that could expose their hiding places. One thing was certain. The galaxy was far more dangerous than anyone on Earth had realized, and humanity's return to the stars was about to become much more complicated. Captain Ryan Brooks stood on the bridge of the Endeavor, studying the star chart that Dr. Elena Martinez had decoded from the ancient archive. The coordinates pointed to a system that official records claimed was empty space, but the human archive insisted contained something called New Haven. Are you sure about these coordinates? Ryan asked Elena, who was double-checking her calculations for the third time. The archive is very specific, Elena replied. It calls this location the First Sanctuary. According to the records, it was established as a hidden refuge during the final days of the war with the hegemony. Jake Sullivan moved closer to the display. Sir, our long-range sensors show nothing in that system? No planets, no stations, nothing? That might be exactly what they want us to think, Ryan said. If these survivors have been hiding for thousands of years, they would have developed technology to stay hidden. Lisa Chang looked up from her engineering station. Captain, I have been analyzing the technology we found in the archive. The power systems and materials are far more advanced than anything we have today. If there are humans out there who have been developing this technology for centuries, they could easily hide entire worlds from our sensors. Ryan made his decision. Set course for those coordinates, but go to yellow alert. If we are wrong about this, we could be flying into a trap. The Endeavour jumped to hyperspace, and 3 hours later, they dropped back into normal space at the coordinates Elena had provided. The bridge crew stared at their instruments in confusion. Still nothing on sensors, reported Lieutenant Peter. Hayes, wait, said Lisa, studying her engineering displays. I am detecting some kind of energy field around us. It is very subtle, but it is definitely artificial. Suddenly, the space around them began to shimmer like heat waves rising from hot pavement. The shimmer grew stronger, and then, as if a curtain was being pulled away, 3 planets appeared in the system along with a small moon and what looked like several space stations. That is impossible, whispered Jake, before anyone could respond. The communications system activated. A calm female voice spoke in perfect English. Earth Vessel Endeavour, this is New Haven Traffic Control. You are cleared for approach to Docking Station 3. Please follow the guidance signals and maintain current speed. Ryan looked around the bridge at his stunned crew. Well, I guess we found them. The guidance signals led them to a massive space station that had somehow been completely invisible moments before. As they approached, Ryan could see that the station was built using technology that was clearly human in origin but far more advanced than anything Earth had ever produced. Captain, said Elena, staring out the viewport. Look at the size of that station. It must house millions of people. The docking procedure was smooth and efficient. As soon as the Endeavour was secured, a delegation of 3 people approached their airlock. Ryan, Jake, and Elena went to greet them, the first person. Through the airlock was a woman in her 50s with graying hair and intelligent eyes. She wore a simple blue uniform with insignia that Ryan did not recognize. Captain Brooks, she said, extending her hand. I am President Victoria Shaw of the New Haven Republic. We have been waiting a long time for this moment. Ryan shook her hand, still trying to process what was happening. President Shaw, I have to admit, we were not entirely sure you existed. Victoria smiled. We have been watching your people for centuries, Captain. We knew that someday Earth would return to the stars and begin asking questions about the past. We have been preparing for this day. The second person was a tall man, with military bearing and short gray hair. I am General Nathan Cross, commander of the Sanctuary Defense Force. We have much to discuss, Captain. The third person was a younger woman with brown hair and friendly eyes. I am Chief Engineer Rose Kelly. I understand you have been studying our ancient technology. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have. Victoria gestured toward the station corridor. Please, come with us. There is much we need to show you. As they walked through the station, Ryan was amazed by what he saw. The corridors were spacious and well lit, with materials that seemed to glow with their own inner light. The people they passed looked human, but were clearly more advanced than Earth humans. Their clothing was made from materials Ryan had never seen, and many carried devices that looked like they belonged in science fiction stories. How many people live here? Elena asked. This station houses about 2 million people, Victoria replied. But New Haven system has a total population of nearly 50 million across all our worlds and stations. Jake stopped walking. 50 million? How's that possible? General Cross answered. We have been rebuilding for over 3,000 years. Commander, when our ancestors first arrived here, there were only a few thousand survivors. But we have grown steadily, and more importantly, we have advanced our technology far beyond what our ancestors achieved. They entered a large conference room with a massive window that looked out at one of the planets below. Ryan could see cities spread across the surface, connected by transport tubes that seemed to float in the air. Please sit, Victoria said. We have much to discuss. Once everyone was seated, Victoria activated a holographic display that showed a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked dozens of star systems. These are the locations of all the sanctuary worlds, Victoria explained. 7 systems in total, each hidden using the same technology you experienced when you arrived here. We have been maintaining these refuges for over 3 millennia, Elena leaned forward. How did you survive when the rest of human civilization was destroyed? Rose Kelly answered. Our ancestors were scientists and engineers who realized that the war was lost. They began secretly, preparing hidden refuges using experimental cloaking technology. When the final attacks came, small groups of survivors escaped to these systems. But why did you stay hidden? Ryan asked. Earth humans have been alone in the galaxy for thousands of years. Why did you not contact us? General Cross's expression grew serious. Because the hegemony never stopped hunting us, Captain. They have spent centuries systematically destroying every trace of human civilization. If they had discovered Earth's location, your world would have been destroyed long ago. Victoria nodded. We have been protecting Earth by staying hidden. As long as the hegemony believed all humans were dead, Earth was safe. But now that you have returned to space and begun asking questions, that protection is ending. What do you mean? Jake asked. The hegemony has been monitoring galactic communications for centuries, Victoria explained. They know about your discovery of the archive. They know you have been investigating human ruins. It is only a matter of time before they realize that Earth humans are descendants of the civilization they tried to destroy. Ryan felt a chill. Are you saying Earth is in danger? Earth is in grave danger, General Cross said bluntly. The hegemony will not allow human civilization to rise again. They will attempt to destroy Earth just as they destroyed our ancestors' empire. Elena looked around the room. What can we do? Earth's military is not prepared for an interstellar war. Victoria smiled for the first time since they had begun talking. That is why we have been preparing for 3,000 years, Dr. Martinez. We have been developing weapons and defenses specifically designed to fight the hegemony. We have been waiting for the day when we could emerge from hiding and reclaim our heritage. Rose Kelly activated another display showing sleek spacecraft unlike anything Ryan had ever seen. These are our ships, Captain. They use technology that the hegemony has never encountered. We have quantum stealth systems, phase weapons, and defensive shields that can stop anything they have. You are talking about war, Ryan said quietly. The war never ended, Captain, General Cross replied. It has been going on for thousands of years. The hegemony has just been fighting it against defenseless targets. Now, for the first time, they will face humans who are prepared to fight back. Victoria stood and walked to the window. Captain Brooks, we need your help. Your discovery of the archive has changed everything. The hegemony now knows that humans survived and they will come looking for Earth. We can protect your world, but only if Earth and the sanctuaries work together. Ryan looked at his crew, then back at Victoria. What exactly are you asking of us? We are asking you to help us reclaim our birthright, Victoria said. It is time for humanity to return to the galactic stage. It is time to restore the truth about our civilization and take back what was stolen from us, Elena spoke up. You want us to help you fight the entire Galactic Council? Not the entire council, General Cross corrected. Many species were not part of the original hegemony. They have been living with lies for centuries, just like Earth humans. When they learn the truth about what happened, some will join us. Victoria turned back to face them. Captain, the choice is simple. We can work together to restore human civilization, or we can wait for the hegemony to find Earth and destroy the last free human world. What will it be? Ryan looked out at the hidden cities below, then at the faces of his crew. The decision would change everything for humanity, but deep down, he knew there was really only one choice they could make. Captain Ryan Brooks stood on the bridge of the Endeavour as it traveled alongside 12 ships from the Sanctuary fleet. The combined human armada was heading toward Kepler 442b, the planet where Dr. Elena Martinez had first discovered the ancient archive 3 months ago. It would be humanity's first public announcement to the galaxy that they had returned to reclaim their heritage. "All ships report ready, Captain," said Jake Sullivan from his position at the tactical station. The sanctuary. Ships were unlike anything Ryan had ever seen. They moved through space with an almost liquid grace, their hulls seeming to shift and change as they traveled. Admiral Susan Wright appeared on the main screen from her flagship, the newly commissioned Earth vessel Defiance. "Captain Brooks, are you ready to make history?" "As ready as we can be, Admiral," Ryan replied. Behind him, Elena Martinez was monitoring the archaeological equipment they would use to document everything they found at the archive site. President Victoria. Shaw's voice came through the communication system from her command ship. "All units, we are dropping out of hyperspace in 30 seconds. Remember, we are here to reveal the truth, not to start a fight, but be prepared for anything." The combined fleet dropped back into normal space near Kepler 442b immediately. Alarms began sounding throughout the ship. "Contact," reported Lieutenant Peter Hayes. "I am reading 15 Skarn warships in orbit around the planet. They are moving to intercept us." On the main screen, the lead Skarn vessel appeared. The same reptilian commander that Ryan had encountered months earlier filled the display, but this time his yellow eyes showed anger instead of cold indifference. "Human vessels, you are trespassing in Skarn space. You will leave immediately or be destroyed." Admiral Wright took the lead in responding. "Commander Vexstar, this is Admiral Susan Wright of the Earth Defense Force. We are here to investigate human archaeological sites on this planet. We have every right to be here." The Skarn commander's scales seemed to darken with rage. "There are no human sites on this world. Humans are a primitive species that has never traveled beyond their home system." President Victoria Shaw's voice cut through the transmission. "That is a lie, Commander, and you know it. My name is Victoria Shaw, President of the New Haven Republic. We are the descendants of the human empire that your ancestors helped destroy. We have returned to reclaim our heritage." For a moment, the Skarn commander seemed genuinely shocked. Then his expression hardened. "Impossible. All humans were eliminated centuries ago." "As you can see, that is not true," Victoria replied calmly. "We have survived, and we have not forgotten what the hegemony did to our people." Commander Vexstar cut the transmission and immediately opened fire on the nearest sanctuary ship. Ryan watched in amazement as the enemy fire seemed to pass right through the human vessel without causing any damage. "Phase shields," explained General Nathan Cross over the fleet communications. "Their weapons cannot touch us." The battle that followed was unlike anything Ryan had ever imagined. The Skarn ships fired everything they had at the human fleet, but their weapons were completely useless. The sanctuary ships seemed to exist in a different dimension, allowing enemy fire to pass through them harmlessly. When the human ships returned fire, the results were devastating. Beams of pure energy lanced out from the sanctuary vessels, cutting through Skarn shields and armor like they were made of paper. Within minutes, half of the enemy fleet was disabled or destroyed. "This is Admiral Wright to all Skarn vessels," came the transmission. "Surrender now and we will spare your lives. Continue fighting and you will be destroyed." The remaining Skarn ships attempted to retreat, but the sanctuary vessels were faster. Only 3 enemy ships managed to escape into hyperspace. "Well," said Jake, staring at the tactical display, "I guess the secret is out now." Elena was already preparing to beam down to the planet's surface. "Captain, we need to get to the archive site immediately. If the Skarn have been guarding this planet, they might have been planning to destroy the evidence." The landing party consisted of Elena, Carl Bennett, Lisa Chang, and a security team led by Jake. They were joined by specialists from the sanctuary worlds who brought equipment that could preserve and analyze the ancient technology. When they reached the archive chamber, they found that the Skarn had indeed been busy. Recent excavation marks showed that they had been trying to destroy the human artifacts, but the advanced materials had resisted their efforts. "They have been trying to erase this site for months," said Dr. Carl Bennett, studying the damage. but they could not figure out how to destroy the technology safely. Elena activated the holographic message from Marcus Vale once again. This time, however, she broadcast the message on all galactic communication frequencies. Every world in this sector of the galaxy would see and hear the truth about human history. Within hours, the response began. Ships from dozens of different species started arriving in the system. Some came to investigate the claims, others came to offer support, and still others came to try to stop the truth from spreading. The first to arrive were the Centauri, a peaceful species known for their dedication to truth and justice. Their ambassador, a tall being with silver skin and large dark eyes, requested permission to come aboard the Endeavor. "Ambassador Kelra," Ryan said as he welcomed the Centauri diplomat. "Thank you for coming." "Captain Brooks," the ambassador replied in perfect English. "We have reviewed the evidence you have broadcast. If what you claim is true, then the Galactic Council has been built on lies for thousands of years." Elena stepped forward. "Ambassador, we can show you the original archive. The evidence is undeniable." "I would like to see this evidence," Kelra said. "My people value truth above all else. If humans were wrongfully erased from history, then this injustice must be corrected." Over the next several days, representatives from 20 different species visited the archive site. Most were amazed by what they found. The evidence was so overwhelming that even the most skeptical visitors were forced to accept the truth, but not everyone was pleased with these revelations. Chancellor Zexver of the Zephyrians, one of the founding members of the Hegemony, arrived with a massive fleet and demanded that the humans leave immediately. "These claims are lies spread by terrorists," the insectoid leader declared during a tense confrontation in orbit. "Humans are a dangerous species that must be contained." President Victoria Shaw responded with calm determination. "Chancellor, we have invited neutral observers to examine all of our evidence. The truth speaks for itself." "Truth?" Zexver's compound eyes glittered with anger. "The truth is that humans are a plague that spreads across the galaxy, consuming everything in their path. We stopped them once, and we will stop them again." The Zephyrian fleet opened fire without warning, but once again, the phase shields of the sanctuary ships protected the human forces. The battle was even more one-sided than the fight with the Scarn had been. Dr. Carl Bennett, watching from the surface of the planet, shook his head sadly. "They would rather fight than admit they were wrong." "Some species will never accept the truth," Elena replied. "But others will. Look." She pointed to the orbital display, where ships from the Centauri, the Ethereals, and 6 other species had moved to form a protective formation around the human fleet. These species had examined the evidence and chosen to support humanity's claims. Admiral Wright opened a communication channel to all ships in the system. "This is Admiral Susan Wright of the Earth Defense Force. We are broadcasting the complete archives of human history to every world in the galaxy. The truth cannot be hidden any longer." As the data transmission continued, more ships arrived. Some came to support the humans, others came to oppose them. The space around Kepler 442b became filled with vessels from across the galaxy, all drawn by the revelation that would change galactic history forever. General Cross reported from his command ship. "Admiral, we are detecting massive fleet movements from Hegemony space. They are mobilizing everything they have." Victoria Shaw's voice was steady but serious. "Then it is time for the final confrontation. The Hegemony has had thousands of years to prepare for this day, but so have we." Ryan looked out at the growing fleet of Allied ships and felt a surge of hope. Humanity was no longer alone. After thousands of years of lies and deception, the truth was finally coming to light. The question now was whether it would be enough to restore justice to the galaxy. 6 months after the battle at Kepler 442b, Captain Ryan Brooks stood on the observation deck of New Olympia Station, watching as construction crews put the finishing touches on humanity's new capital. The massive space station floated in orbit around the planet that had once been the heart of the ancient human empire. Now reclaimed and rebuilt, the final confrontation with the Hegemony had lasted only 3 weeks. but it had changed the galaxy forever. When the combined hegemony fleet had arrived to destroy the human forces, they had found themselves facing not just the sanctuary ships, but vessels from 30 different species who had chosen to stand with humanity. The battle had been decisive. The advanced technology of the sanctuary worlds, combined with the support of their new allies, had overwhelmed the hegemony forces. Chancellor Zexfer and Commander Vexstar had both been captured, along with most of their fleet commanders. Now Ryan was preparing for the ceremony that would officially restore humanity's place in galactic civilization. Dr. Elena Martinez approached him, carrying a data pad with the final reports from the archaeological teams. "The restoration is complete," Elena said, looking out at the bustling activity around the station. "We have recovered artifacts and records from over 40 worlds. The complete history of human civilization has been restored to the galactic archives." Ryan nodded, still amazed by how quickly everything had changed. "What about Earth? How are people adjusting to the news?" "Better than expected," Elena replied. "Learning that we are not alone in the universe was shocking, but learning that we have family out here among the stars has given people hope." The first group of Earth volunteers arrived yesterday to begin training with sanctuary technology. Through the viewport, Ryan could see ships from dozens of different worlds docked at the station. Representatives from across the galaxy had come to witness the establishment of the new Galactic Council, one that would be built on truth instead of lies. Jake Sullivan joined them at the viewport, wearing the new uniform of the Human Defense Force. "Captain, President Shaw is ready to begin the ceremony. Ambassador Kelra and the other representatives are waiting in the main assembly hall." The three of them made their way through the station corridors. The halls were filled with beings from across the galaxy, all here to witness this historic moment. Ryan recognized Centauri, Ethereals, Andromedans, and dozens of other species that had joined the alliance supporting humanity. The main assembly hall was enormous, with seating for over 10,000 representatives. At the center of the hall stood a podium where President Victoria Shaw was preparing to address the gathered delegates. "Citizens of the galaxy," Victoria began, her voice carrying clearly through the hall's communication system, "we gather today to correct an injustice that has lasted for thousands of years. For too long, the truth about human civilization has been hidden from the galaxy. Today we restore that truth to its rightful place in history." The hall erupted in applause from the representatives of the species that supported humanity. Ryan noticed that some sections remained silent, representing those worlds that still questioned the evidence or supported the old hegemony. Victoria continued. "The Human Heritage Foundation, led by Dr. Carl Bennett, has worked tirelessly to recover and preserve the true records of our civilization. These records are now available to all species so that the mistakes of the past are never repeated." Dr. Bennett stepped forward and activated a massive holographic display that showed the complete timeline of human civilization. The display revealed not just the rise and fall of the human empire, but also the systematic destruction and cover-up that had followed. "The evidence is clear," Bennett said. "Humans were the first species to achieve faster-than-light travel. We established the first interstellar trade routes. We founded the original Galactic Council based on principles of cooperation and mutual respect. This heritage belongs not just to humans, but to all species who believe in these ideals." "Ambassador." Kelra rose from his seat in the front row. "The Centauri Republic formally recognizes the historical claims presented by humanity. We pledge our support for the new Galactic Council and the principles it represents." One by one, representatives from dozens of species stood to voice their support. The Ethereals, known for their advanced technology, offered to share their research with human scientists. The Andromedans pledged their merchant fleets to help rebuild trade routes. Even some species that had previously been neutral announced their intention to join the alliance, but not everyone was supportive. Chancellor Rick of the Altair Collective stood and spoke against the humans. "These claims, even if true, do not give humans the right to claim leadership of the galaxy. The past is past. We should focus on the present." President Shaw responded calmly. Chancellor Rick, we are not claiming leadership. We are offering partnership. The new Galactic Council will be led by elected representatives from all member species. Humanity asks only for the chance to participate as equals. General Nathan Cross, now serving as the military advisor to the Council, stood to address security concerns. The new Council will be protected by the Combined Defense Force, with ships and personnel contributed by all member species. No single species will control the military, and all defensive actions will require approval from the full Council. Elena Martinez watched from the gallery as the debate continued. Some representatives argued about territory, others about trade, rights, and still others about the punishment of hegemony leaders. But gradually, consensus began to emerge. The breakthrough came when Elder Zareth of the ancient vegan civilization spoke. The Vegas were one of the oldest species in the galaxy, and their words carried great weight. I am old enough to remember the stories my ancestors told about the early days of galactic civilization, Elder Zareth said, her voice carrying the weight of centuries. They spoke of a young species that reached out to the stars with curiosity and hope, who offered friendship before they demanded anything in return. These stories match what the humans have shown us in their archives. It is time to welcome them home. The vote was called, and when the counting was finished, 47 species had voted to support the establishment of the new Galactic Council. Only 12 voted against, and most of those were former hegemony members. As the ceremony concluded, Ryan found himself thinking about how far humanity had come. 6 months ago, they had believed they were alone in the universe. Now they were part of a galactic community that included hundreds of different species. Rose Kelly approached him as the crowds began to disperse. Captain, I wanted to thank you. If you and Dr. Martinez had not found that first archive, none of this would have been possible. We all played our part, Ryan replied. But the real heroes are the people who kept the truth alive for thousands of years while hiding in the sanctuary. Worlds. Elena joined them, holding a message pad. Captain, I just received word from Earth. They are naming you as the first Earth ambassador to the new Galactic Council. Ryan was surprised. I thought Admiral Wright would take that position. She declined. Elena said with a smile. She said the job should go to the person who helped discover the truth, not the person who fought the battles. As the three of them walked through the station, Ryan thought about the future. The trials of the hegemony leaders would begin soon, but that was just the beginning. Rebuilding galactic civilization based on truth and cooperation would take decades, maybe centuries. But for the first time in thousands of years, humanity was no longer alone. They had family among the stars, allies who shared their values, and a future that was brighter than anyone had dared to imagine. Elena stopped at another viewport and looked out at the stars. You know what the best part is? We finally know who we really are. We are not just survivors who fled to a primitive world. We are the children of explorers and builders, people who reached out to the galaxy with open hands. Ryan nodded, watching as ships from dozens of worlds came and went from the station. And now we get to be explorers and builders again. The galaxy is vast, and there is so much we still do not know. But this time, Elena said, we will not be exploring alone. We will have the entire galactic community with us. As Ryan looked out at the infinite stars, he smiled. Humanity had finally come home.